Right.
Okay.
So moving through from here, you go into the Labs to IPO itself, and there what you have is usually it opens up and says, right, these are all the things that are about me. Then there's the things about disclosures, which is what we're going to be dealing with. Then there's things about projects, which this particular user has actually got an association to, so they see these bits. And then there's some general stuff about WIPO and some other things. Right, so the thing that you're interested in is once you've gone into the system, you have got your login, all right, you've done your 2FA, it now says, okay, you are somebody who'll be recognized. Then what will start happening is because you've been associated to a client, yeah, you'll get the My Disclosures turns up and the Review Disclosures turns up. Now, the objective of doing any disclosure is to have it reviewed, right? The review process is basically people looking at this and saying, is this idea worth doing something with? You may have a wonderful project here which deals with something which is highly interesting to you, but to which other people go, so what, yeah? What we're actually trying to identify is the problem that you're addressing, yeah, particularly, is that problem of interest to people to be addressed? Therefore, if it's of interest to people to be addressed, is your solution of interest, because it addresses a problem they're interested in, and is your solution, therefore, one that can be gone ahead with, is forwardable, will work, or is somebody going to look at it and go, nah, that won't work because I know something else, yeah? I know the way in which these things are implemented. We have one particular project which went through, which was beautiful technical project, wonderful, and it went out to somebody who implemented similar things, and he went, we get round that by putting a bend in the pipe. And it was like a rather large deflation of a very good idea down to just a practical implement thing of saying, yeah, we can do exactly the same thing as you're doing technically here wonderfully, yeah, just by putting this kink in the pipe, and that then solves the issue for us. So what we're trying to find is, this is a problem that people care about, therefore this is a solution that people care about, therefore there is some juice behind actually doing this. People will be interested, people will want to do things, people will get on with it. Right, so let's go into then the My Disclosures. To start off with, you will have no disclosures shown. Straightforward. Before you can disclose anything, you've got to tick this little box up here. I confirm I've read and agreed to the terms and conditions. If you don't do that, then it will phone at you and say, please do that. Okay, it's all right. So we'll click on that. I would suggest you do go through and read the terms and conditions because you're agreeing to it. You then add a disclosure entry. Now what this is now going to say is, give us a name for this. Now, any disclosure which you put in is going to have a unique name. We ensure that it has a unique name because we put your author ID at the front of it, regardless of what you say. So if you just called it My Project, and 5 of you called it My Project, all right, then there would still be 5 different ones because one would be user X and the other one would be user X plus N, all right? So therefore it wouldn't actually be the same thing. So what we're going to have here is just call it a demo project. Okay, you see that these numbers here next to it, they change as I type. Basically, it says you've typed in 12 characters, there are 40 you're allowed to use, there's 28 left. For this sort of bar size field, it doesn't really matter, but when you're talking about something which has got 2,000 characters in it, and you're just getting into the swing of what you're trying to say, and you suddenly realise you've only got 50 left, then you might have to go back and do some editing. Right, so this is a demo project. Okay, so it's now created a demo project. This one is user 13, I didn't realise it was that one, but and author 13 on the system. And so then it's got the name is U13 demo project coming up. Now, you start off with a display which basically just says everything's got a red cross against it. Nothing's been done. Fair enough. First thing you're interested, and the status of it is incomplete, which it will be because we haven't started it. We go in and start off with basic information, and we start filling things in. So I'm going to do this as disclosure by an academic researcher on behalf of my university or company, and it's for PIPE membership only. The next bit that happens is you give your disclosure a title, and this is a dummy demo here. As you can see, the values change as we go through. there's a little question mark against these things which gives you help about it, and it is, if you click on that, it will tell you what that field's about. That's the standard across the system. Right. Then there's the keywords, and this is going to be, again, I'm going to say dummy and demo. Should put a comma between those. Dummy, demo, example, whatever. And in the following field,
so sorry, Andrew, the keywords will be related to the idea itself.
The
right?
idea
so
itself,
if
yeah.
you want
So this
to
is,
look
yeah. So
if this is
something to do with nanoelectronics, you're going to be saying nanoelectronics. If it's to do with biomedical, whatever, then you say biomedical. You're going to be using the keywords that you would normally expect this thing to come up under as a search. Right. The next one, which is the non-trigger keywords. This is basically, can be a bit tricky. This is to do with things like, this is a project about X, Y, Z, but it's nothing to do with ABC. Right? Even though that seems to be what it's maybe with that. So you can actually put in there the not to do with this. Yeah. So, but that doesn't get used a lot. There's a do one. So we'll ignore that moment and we move on. Well, we haven't completed this section because we haven't done the pick an available image. We'll go to the next page. Now, you can use the navigation at the bottom of each of these sections to take you to the next page, or to go back, or you can go to the index. If you go to the index, you'll see that, oh look, we put something in because now it's gone amber. Yeah, it's not yet got a green tick. We haven't finished it, but at least we put something in. Okay, we're now going through the disclosure, and we're now getting into the meat of the thing. What is the background of your disclosure? How did it come about? Right.
Just to clarify something, Andrew. So the researchers can always save the data and then can come back in the disclosure portal anytime.
Yeah. See, the marker at the top that says form changed says you've changed something, but you haven't saved it yet. All right. You have to explicitly save the form to do it. So if you type in loads and loads and loads and loads and then forget to hit save data, you're going to be a bit annoyed. But it's so that you actually are putting it together, you're happy with that, save it, okay? Right, so the background to the invention, how did it come about? So, help reviewers understand the competitive landscape of your disclosure. In a lot of these cases, hit the help button and it'll tell you what we're talking about here. This is 2000, what are you disclosing? Provide a description of your disclosure without compromising IP. This is where you have 2,000 characters of overview to create interest and raise awareness of your idea innovation onto the network. So in other words, you can basically this is your sales point of it. Stage of the development. Now we use the NASA European Space Agency TRL levels. Hopefully you can see that drop box. We're going to ask you to prove that you've actually done all those things. You claim you've got TRL 6. We're going to expect you to grab everything that qualifies for TRL 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Have been completed, and if you've got a gap in any of those things, we're going to say, oh, that brings you down to 3, doesn't it? Because you haven't actually done that one yet. Things like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So what is the stage of development? You can go and look at what the values are there. Right. Let's move on. So what's the proposition? What's the key problem in your field that the disclosure solves? What's the need that you're addressing? Yeah. So this is where you're trying to convince people that you're doing something that's worthwhile. Yeah, there's a need. Then what's the features of your disclosure? What are your solution? What are the advantages over other things? In each of these cases, just look at the help and it helps. What are the practical advantages? What key gains does your disclosure offer customers, the benefits for it? And then there's some things here which say, in summary, so is it more accurate, lower cost, more environmentally friendly, faster, more efficient, more reliable, more durable? Just key points there. Right, now we're getting into some different types of questions here. These are ones where there's actually a multiple sets of formatted answer. So, for instance, here, who were the inventors? Who played what role in the invention? Please list all of those who've been involved inside and outside your own organisation. On these ones, you say add. What happens is it comes up with a little form that says these are the bits and pieces here. So I'm going to say, put myself in there, role played, and I'll say inventor. And I'll go update. Now, that now puts me in as that role, that status within this listing. If I want to change that, I hit the number 1 next to it, which is the thing, and I then get the thing, and I can either update it or I can delete it. Right. IP searches. Now, this is where it gets a bit more interesting. The IP searches, we use the Semantic Scholar IP search, okay, which is an AI-driven search process. We've recently had some issues with it because one of our API keys expired because we were waiting for things to come through, and they took a bit longer. So you can go through and do a Semantic Scholar search directly. Here, just hit the button and you start typing in what keywords are you searching for. One of my favorite ones, green hydrogen. And you just go off and you just do a search for that. So run search on Semantic Scholar, and you'll then get, hopefully coming up in a few seconds time, 2 million odd results, right? Probably a little bit more than you want. What we do when it comes to the keyword process and the actual submission of this is, it takes all of your keywords, the ones you've declared, and one's out your title and description, and it goes off and does a series of permutation requests from Semantic Scholar to find the articles which are actually associated to it. It downloads those articles, it looks at the actual similarity of those articles, the content, the semantic content of those, to the disclosure that it holds, all right? And it scores those as high similarity or low similarity. High similarity ones then get shown to you as a list of projects, of articles, which you can then go look at and then respond to as going, yeah, similar but not relevant. This is only to do with X, Y, Z. This is actually, addresses some elements of the proposal here, but not the core ones or whatever. Or, oh dear, this is exactly identical to what we've just been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You then get into a commitment statement. Yeah, true and accurate. Hopefully, that's going to be ticked quite happily because you haven't been lying as you've gone through this. How many available hours in time, hours per week? This is important when it comes to people looking at it and going, all right, so the person who's doing this is actually willing to actually follow it up, yeah, as opposed to moved on, not interested in doing anymore. Of the time which has been agreed with the university, or is subject to discussion, or is their own time, so they're doing it as a side thing. As a general principle, the whole system, if you put graft into the system, then you are attributed with having done some work in the system. That's what we have. Now, in this section here, we're talking about questions from the project team. Now, this might not be something that you'd be interested in at the moment, but it allows you to say, I want to ask a question. It's a type of question where I want you to score it, yes or no, one of the list, give me some whatever, And it might be things like, should we be opening a European office first before a United States office? Should we be doing this in commercial units of less than 10 litres, or we should be doing it in industrial units of 100 litres plus, or whatever. It might be some question which you've got that you actually, as a project discloser, going, well, still haven't decided what the answer is on this bit, and I could do with having some lead from people coming in.
Do you know collaborators in this specific industries or anything?
Yeah, exactly that. That's actually a leader. That's a really good idea. That's a really good use case for it, because we've actually had that where somebody has said, I need to do a pilot or a proof of concept. Do you know any partners that can work with me on this basis? And we went and found somebody in Europe that could do that. So yeah, we've done that before.
Yeah, that might be very useful for us, and especially for a few, for some of our inventions where we are looking for potential collaborators or proof of concept or anything that the associate team can maybe help us with. That would be very, very useful.
This bit here, the skills index. So you can add skills in. Now this is based on the got it up there now, the Nesta skills taxonomy. That means that you can go through here and say, right, well, we have is, where's my, one of my favourite ones, science and research, might go, biology, optometry, cellular immunology. Okay, so you're actually creating this is the sort of thing which we're talking about. Yeah, this is the skill set which we're in for this project. What that then means is when we're looking at subsequently matching people into the system, if they match at the top level, then score 1. If they match at the next level down, score 2. If they match at the next level down, score 3. Match right the way down, score 4, sort of thing. So we can actually then say this person matches a lot higher than this other person does over here. So therefore, you know, if you want to rank these in degree of interest, this is the way in which we can do it. Okay. So,
I mean,
but to match with who? To match with who? Like with the fields of interest, so with those fields where the associates are related to, or
no, it's with our associate network. So if you want people with a particular skill set for your project, so we had a project recently which was to do with congenital heart disease in children, but it was metabolomics, so it's a blood test, pinprick blood test kind of thing. So the academic picked the selections from this database to find the kind of person that understood metabolomics and, you know, that kind of thing. And so that then allowed us to identify people in our network who matched that, and they just happened to be, for example, cardiologists at Bristol Royal Infirmary who work for the paediatric team in heart, you know, so they came into the project, that kind of thing.
Then what will happen is you get feedback from reviewers. This one, at this stage, obviously blank, there is no feedback because nothing's done. All right.
So the reviewers will be a network of PIPE associates.
There'll be a network of PIPE associates and individuals which you have actually potentially invited into the
as contributors or external people. Yeah.
So
will the TTOs be also part of reviewers as well, of the reviewers list?
Yes, you can. This is what I was going to say. You and Ufeli and anybody, you can add anybody you like to a project to review it. So, for example, I know you had your investor thing at BCU the other week. If there are investors there that are expressing early interest in projects, but they haven't really done a great deal, then you can invite them in to the platform as observers or as contributors, and you can say, look, we're currently going through this due diligence process with this platform. Why don't you plug into that and review the project the way that you currently see it? And they will spend half an hour doing exactly what a reviewer will do from there. But there's nothing to stop you from doing that. You're more than happy for you to invite whoever you like into the system that you're happy to see your projects. We're happy for you to do that. And that, again, goes back to that team building thing. What you're actually doing is attracting people in around a particular project who are interested in that project, who might form part of the team, might form part of the investment in the future, might whatever. It's all about collaboration and making these things work, you know.
So when you've actually saved the disclosure at that stage, you come back to the screen here, and you now get some buttons you can press because you've actually got disclosure to talk about. Now, when you want to go back into it, you're going to edit it. If you just want to look at it and see what it looks like, okay, I do that, and it just gives you this is what I put in so far, this is what it looks like, okay, no comments so far, etc. Let's go back, and you can print that, that's a printable version of it. Now, the thing we were just talking about here is invitations. So we say, right, I want to add some people into this. Oops, I've got something that shouldn't be showing up there. We can ignore the notice there. Add a new internal reviewer, for instance. This one is going to be.
So internal reviewers, what do we mean by
internal reviewer is basically they share the same domain as you. So
from the companies of PIPE and Lab.
I've got an error there at the moment, which I need to resolve, which is stopping this from happening.
That's because you've come in as a demo.
What you've actually got is you put in a reviewer, and it will then accept that as a new reviewer you can do on there.
So if it's got if it's got wlv.ac.uk, that'll work. If it's got coventry.ac.uk, that'll work. I know that you also use CUS Limited, which we can add in. We can add that in as a domain. So you can put those in. But yeah, that allows you to invite people in from your networks to that particular project.
Right. What you can also do is you can add supporting files to the system. So there's no supporting files in there at the moment, but I can add a supporting file, and basically I select a file and upload it, and that's it. Now the supporting files are used by the reviewers to actually look at, it could be a PDF document that you've already done. Now,
we have pitch decks, PDF documents, we have IP lookups, anything really that's relevant to the disclosure.
You can mark these up, and then you can, if you've got more than one, you can then do something called a cohort report. Now, a cohort report, I won't try doing it at the moment because there's nothing in there, will actually give you a a standard report of what the reviews are like on this particular project or these projects, but it will give you a cohort analysis of this is how these projects as a group have actually been marked up. So, for instance, you might find, I don't know, as a TTO, yeah, and you might be able to, you've got several different authors on there. You might pick out one particular author and cohort analysis that and go, oh, as a cohort, this person scores rather low on the finance side of things, isn't putting in enough information on that, yeah? Whereas this other user on the finance side is scoring quite well, yeah? Therefore, need to have a word with person A to be able to say, put in a bit more information.
So we've sort of shown you the input, we've shown you some of the output, we've shown you the mechanism of the review. And the critical thing here, I think, that maybe you should be picking up is the more information you put in the disclosure, the better, the easier it is to put together the review, the better the options that you have in terms of the output report. Each output report for each project runs to about 40 or 50 pages. You'll also be able to see who the reviewers are. They'll be named, their email address, their LinkedIn profile. So all of that is open to you. But that's pretty much it. I mean, there's a lot to look at there. I appreciate that, and I think for the purposes of this,
but it's somewhat straightforward. It's very well explained